Hi, yes. Well, good evening, everybody. Here we are today. It's the daddy-daughter chat, and it's always good to be with you all, Kelly and I, with you all this evening again. And it's always an awesome privilege. Yes?
Yes.
Hi. So I suppose we begin first by doing some sharing, right?
Yes, sir.
So, well, nobody's on us yet. Yeah, okay. I'm showing up on YouTube, but not on Facebook yet. Oh, there I am.
Yes, you are, Christian.
Okay. Okay, so we have some people starting to join in. Welcome. We welcome you on. Just to let you all know, you all can view us on YouTube on the House of Glory Open Bible. Hi. So, Kelly, how have you been?
I'm not too bad,
Not
Father.
too bad. You mean not just great?
No, I'm good. I'm
Hmm?
good. My days
You're
have
good.
been full. Yes, after work, my niece and nephew are down here for a little bit. So, energy.
That energy is always good. Okay. So, good
Nice.
evening again, everybody. It's good to have you all with us today. Yes, as you notice, it's a very hairy day for Kelly.
Funny.
It's a special type of Hi Dawn, good night, Sonia, good night. Oh yes, good to have you all on with us this evening, and all the rest of you all who coming on. It's good to have you all as we have our chat. Remember, we're happy to have you all with us. Remember, continue to comment, continue to tell us what you're thinking, what you're asking, what your views are. So last 2 weeks we spoke a little bit on forgiveness. I think the first one was, do I need to
Yes.
forgive? And what was last week again?
Last week was moving on after forgiveness, which was really a reconciliation.
Okay, it's a continuation.
No, so we
All
spoke
right.
about reconciliation.
Ah, so you hear me good?
I hear you good, but you see a delay.
And last week I had this issue too. For some reason you were coming across choppy. So I need to figure out what that is about. Yes. I don't know if it's something with this platform. Hi Fisher Book, good to have you on. Don says, evening sons. Hi Maria Dalip Singh, our neighbor. Good to have you on, Maria. I haven't seen you since I moved back to Gaspard. I can't remember seeing you. It's good to have you on with us. Just give a few more people a little chance to come on before we continue with our chat. I want to speak a little, Kelly. Let me hear how you're sounding.
Is this sounding better or do I sound very choppy?
It sounds good, but for some reason it keeps cutting. And I feel it might be internet related. But once you are being heard by everyone else, hey Don, good to have you on. So do I have to do something to see your comments on the live stream? I'm not seeing any comment on the and Don is my coach for StreamYard, by the way, people. So I'm not seeing any of the comments coming up on on the um on the StreamYard
Okay, good.
side of things. Yes, good.
Okay, great. So Anastasia, just a reminder of what we spoke about last week, which was forgiveness and reconciliation.
All right, very good, very good.
Thanks, Anna.
Hi, nice to have you on, Anastasia. You know, okay. Okay, just now. I think I'm understanding a little more here. Hmm. So I could get the YouTube comments, but not maybe the Facebook comments. Okay. Yes. So good to have you all with us. Hi, Natasha and Nakisha Smith, Natasha Rennie. It's good to have you all on this evening as you see, the topic tonight is mind your business. Is that what you said?
You didn't say
Kelly,
the attitude I needed you to say it, but that's fine.
oh, well, that's not the attitude you need to say to it. Mind your
Yeah,
business. Not neither,
exactly.
neither. Okay,
That's it. That's
that's
it.
it.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
hear
yeah.
you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Good, good. So we would start. We can start our little chat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we have a few people on, and Kelly will just give maybe a little idea in terms of what we're chatting about, what we're going to be chatting about today. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So for the past 2 weeks, we had a really awesome conversation on that tough talk about forgiveness or unforgiveness. Um, it clearly was a really hot topic here at the Daddy Daughter Chat because we got some really awesome responses from you guys in terms of your views. What does forgiveness mean to you guys? Last week we even had even more fun conversation about reconciliation, and
Hmm.
in that conversation we talked about this is at the point where you decide that you want to reconcile, because the first week we talk about not everybody forgive you will be reconciling with. We clarified that. But then last week we
Hmm.
spoke about the case where you've decided to reconcile. How do you go about reconciling with somebody? Um, Even after hurt has happened, even though you know that unforgiveness has taken place and now you need to step into that place of forgiveness. So we really had some really great conversation. Coming out of it, I think all of us understood the power of forgiveness and reconciliation and the need to move to let it go. One of the things that really came out of it as well was the fact that we have to forgive others in order to be forgiven by God. And also that we have to learn to forgive ourselves because sometimes we hurt ourselves more than we know. So it really was a good conversation. We of course covered it across the faith fellowship arena. We talked about what forgiveness should look like in a husband and wife scenario, in a parental scenario, what forgiveness should look like if somebody does not want to grant you the apology that you very well deserve. So of course if you missed those episodes, the beauty of it now is that we have a Daddy Daughter page so you can go back and listen to them on one platform. Now today our topic is entitled Mind Your Business. I just like saying it. Um, the topic is entitled Mind Your Business. But it's not what you think it is in the sense of that saucy telling somebody, listen, get out my face, don't get all up in us in this conversation. This conversation is really about how do you focus on your life and everything that's going on in your space so you can move forward, advance in your life. Even though it's like one of our local phrases, is really a conversation about how to focus on myself in a way that allows me to be better, to be more. And of course, coming off the heels of the conversations that we had for the past 2 weeks, which would have been on unforgiveness and forgiving somebody, there's a level of movement that needs to happen. So this is reconciliation. May or may not have forgiveness has happened because that's what we know we want. But you ever realize that sometimes you can forgive somebody, you can reconcile, or even it doesn't have to be in those arenas, but you have a hard time focusing and going on. And having a hard time going on, whether it be in that you always telling the same story over and over, whatever it is, we want to talk about how do we go forward in life in whatever arena we are in. So this is where we want to have this conversation. How do you focus on you in the now in order to move on further with your life?
Good. Very good.
Um,
Very good. Hmm.
Cleon saying that he thinks the app that give him trouble.
You think it's the app?
Yeah.
Okay, because you're coming. So is he here and you kind of breaking up too?
He said I'm sounding fast forward on his app. I'm not sure what that means, but
Okay.
on his phone. Anyway, as long as
Yeah.
nobody says anything.
Well, you all are hearing good. Okay. But because I am hearing you break choppy choppy, so I'll
Okay.
have to figure out what that is. Yeah. So good.
Mm.
All right. So the first part of the chatting, go ahead. You're muted. Unmute.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yes.
All right, let's see if this helps. Guys, we're still trying to figure out this platform to see
Yeah,
if
we're
it
using a
really,
different platform, so we're still
yeah.
maneuvering our way around it to give us the best, the best service from it. Yes.
Yeah. So I
All
think
right.
we
Go ahead.
get to go there. All right, so that your business. I want to start the conversation at the place of why do you think this is going to sound like a very funny question, but why do you think people have a hard time minding their own business, meaning staying focused on their vision, staying focused on what God has put you on, the things you've planned in life. You realize that a lot of people really are having a hard time just kind of staying course, moving on from traumatic serious instances, moving on from difficult situations. And so what do you think really causes that issue in terms of people being able to focus and move?
Okay. Good. So Dawn, I'm seeing you showing up. I need for you to show up. Thanks. Um, I think one of the reasons has to do, especially if we are piggybacking based on what we were speaking about the last couple of days. That's what we're doing, right? A little bit of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the reasons has to do with okay, so let us say what has happened created some sort of wound. So
Right.
although we forgive and we reconcile, it's as if there is still not healing. So let us say that you should have been moving on, or whatever happened hindered you from progressing. Then now there is a kind of memory like a ghost that kind of sometimes seems to be hanging around. So although you have forgiven and although you have reconciled, um, there is still, you could say, fear, you could say mistrust, even if it doesn't involve the same person. But it's as if there's something that gets stored in your mind or stored in your soul that kind of still hinders you from stepping forward and from moving on. So it's as if there is something that needs to be completely erased from your hard drive, so to speak,
Mm.
for you to be able to move on. And I think that might be one of the reasons. The memory of the hurt or the memory of the failure sometimes keeps you. So it's like if so I remember years ago I was in an accident on the highway where I fell asleep, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and my car turned over in the median. But do you know, for years, every time I approached that spot, I didn't get frightened, but I remembered.
Mm.
I remember that it doesn't happen now. But for quite a while, whenever I was approaching that spot, I remember that I was in an accident on that spot. So it's as if
I think his internet is gone.
well, we,
Hello?
all right, we're back on. Yeah, we're back on. Yeah, I wonder if that was from on my end.
It's on your
So
end.
we having on my end. Okay, so I may have to change
Mhm.
what I'm using for internet if it happens again. Yeah. I trust that we got that, as I said. So it's as if something gets stored in some part of us that hinders us from moving on or from going on. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. You see, but daddy, the concern I have with that is memories don't just disappear though. You
But that,
literally
but that,
memories don't disappear.
it won't disappear, but it has to get to the place where it does not affect you. Then
How?
you understand? It could now be a testimony. Well, I think we know there's an old saying that says time heal all wounds. That's one, but you're going also have to going to be intentional in either getting
Mm,
help or either you're spending time in the Word. As I said, get help, you get counsel, maybe some self-talk in terms
mm,
of identifying who you are, identifying your strengths, and you have to treat this thing as an enemy that comes encroaching. So you have to put it in its place. It doesn't have to
mm,
always be aggressively, but it may have to be like reassuring yourself, no, I can do this,
right,
or I am moving forward. I have gotten over this. So that which you believe, you begin to now vocalize it. You understand?
right,
So you kind of clearing a path for you to step ahead. So that will be one of the ways that can be done.
right.
Yeah.
I agree. Another thing which we would have spoken about a lot on the Didots and chat, and we repeat it always because it's something important to remember, is that being mindful. I think mindfulness, we downplay how powerful it is. We have to know or be always aware what we're thinking about. So for me, in
Mm.
scenarios like this where you did all the right things, but you still struggle with this up here, one of the activities that I whenever I am in that space is when I get up in the morning, I write down the thoughts that I want to have for the day. It sounds a bit
Okay.
strange, but the reason why I do that is, and I write it down. It has to be written for it. The reason why I write it down is that your brain will start to veer off. But when you are mindful, you're able to catch that and say, "This is not what I agreed upon with myself this
Hmm.
morning." And so I would refer to the agreement I had with myself and say, "But
Okay.
no, today our focus is supposed to be that you're thinking about this. You are not on that path right now, so you need to get back
Hmm.
on." So that's one of those practical ways in a day-to-day basis that you can implement into your life to help you whenever you realize your past thoughts are coming at you in a way that makes it very difficult sometimes to be functional. Write down what you actually want to think about so that when you realize that your brain has strayed, you can go back and read it and bring yourself back. You
Back on track.
have to be
Yeah.
diligent with it though, because the patience I think is very necessary with changing your thoughts. Because most times that most of us leave our minds unattended. We kind of just like get away with anything. And we can't afford to do that. That's how the enemy gets at us when we leave our minds attended for too long. I'll always remember. I can't remember who the pastor that said it. Is that the main warfare happens in your mind. People think that
Of
it's
course. Of course.
position and that kind of stuff. And yes, those are mean. But the enemy could get a chance to whisper in your ears whole day, and
Hmm.
you realize it. He could mash you up real bad.
Hmm. Hmm.
Another activity
There's a
that you
portion of
could
scripture that go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
look at.
There's a portion of scripture that talks about bringing every thought into captivity. So
Yep.
it gives you the idea of actually reining your thoughts in. There's a member of my church who she always says, think about what you're thinking about. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so, and I agree with that. You have to be mindful, or you have to become aware of what your thought patterns are, and then you need to. And when you become aware of what, then you need to examine: are these helpful thoughts? Are these thoughts that will get me ahead, or are these thoughts that I need to now put a stop to? And
Right.
one of the things I've also recognized is that not every thought that comes to your mind necessarily originates from you. You understand? We know that the enemy is able to project thoughts. So not every thought that comes to your mind, you have to own it as if it is yours. And things like that. Because if you do that, then you begin to judge yourself. and see yourself
Mm-hmm.
in a kind of place. So some thoughts you need to own,
Yep.
but not every thought that comes. You need to own it. Let's say you have some very strange thought that doesn't even come from your
Right.
character. Then then
Yeah.
then then you need to not simply own that thing. That this is not who I
Mm-hmm.
am. So that being or whoever it is trying to, well, we know it's a spiritual being. That's another topic that's trying to project a thought into my mind, whether it's a thought of failure, a thought to do something strange. So it's okay to filter your thoughts. It's okay to pay
Yep.
attention to what your thoughts are saying. Maybe there's an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
step ahead, and there's a thought that
Right.
tells you to hold yourself back,
Right.
and that sort of thing. So yeah, good.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So in the conversation of minding your business, I was thinking about how do we practically go about doing that? What would that look like? So, for example, we just talked about the past thoughts that might try to come up, even though you've done all the right things. How does somebody practically go about doing this? Now, of course, we would have alluded to it in terms of studying the Word of God and being mindful of what you are thinking about. But I know there's more to it. So that's where we want to go with the conversation. How do you practically guard your mind or guard yourself against some of the things that
Hmm.
bombard you on a daily basis? Now, I want to take this in two parts. So the two parts that I want to take it with is minding your business in terms of the people aspect, and then minding your business in terms of
Yeah.
that introspection and what you do within yourself, right? So you're struggling to hear me.
Okay. Yeah, but go ahead. So you say mining a business in spite of the people aspect, and in the what's the other one you said?
And introspection.
Introspection. Okay, good, good.
So,
Um, so I think we say mining a business, which means that you have a business, right?
yes.
Yeah. So there's something that you need to be attending to, that's taking you
Right.
somewhere. And so I think one of the things, I'm sure we touched on this before, is that of course you have to have a goal in terms of where you're going to,
Right.
and maybe even a timing according to what it is, or what this development should look like. And then you need to, there's a in the Bible we say you set your face as flint, which means as a stone. So
Right.
you keep your focus, you keep moving towards your goal, and of course, when the people thing comes up, you're going to have to just continue to stay focused, especially if it's not
Right.
someone that is that important enough to take away your time and that type of stuff. I am
Right.
very, very, very careful with that. I remember one of my mentors said something to me that really doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't sound good, especially in our circles. And she would say to me, she said, Dominic, she said that person is insignificant. I mean, nobody's insignificant. But I understand what she's saying. Why would you go and spend your time trying to make yourself All right. Yes. Yes. So I was saying we do apologize for the technical difficulties that we are experiencing at this time. Yes. All right. So I'm glad. Yeah. So where were we, Miss Kelly?
I don't sure what you said, bro.
What was I answering to? Remind me again.
We were talking about the different practical ways that you can you can focus, right? Talking about that need to stay focused.
Okay, and I think I spoke about and I spoke about, of course, being focused in terms of your goal, knowing what you're going towards. And I think I started saying, sometimes there are people elements that may try to step in the way of your goal that might even be tied to what hindered you in the past. But a
Right.
mentor of mine who is now passed on used to say to me when things like that come up, she said something that didn't sound good as good counsel, but I understand what you're saying. She said, Dominic, that person is insignificant. In
Right.
other words, why are you allowing that person into your space to hinder your flow? And that's something that I've kind of kept with me. I decide what I will allow to slow me down, or who I will allow to slow me down. When I consider the goal that God has given to me to fulfill, so I don't get myself caught up with too much of little side talk and petty distractions
Mm-hmm.
and attitudes that can be hindering to moving on. And sometimes I suppose it can rub off wrong on some people. But the thing is, there's a goal that is set, and it's not that I don't love you. It's just that I can't allow you to allow you and some of the things that you do or attitudes that you have to keep me from moving forward. And I
Right.
remember that's deceased sister Buckmeyer taught me that years ago. You know, so
There's a
yeah,
side. There's a flip side to that too, Daddy. There are instances where people are distractions, but they're not actually doing anything.
yeah,
So what I mean by that, especially in the social media arena and in the social media era, um, we are privy to a lot of people. We can now see into their space a lot more than songs them up and say, hey, Meryl, how you going, girl? What going on with you? No, you could actually you could
no,
literally log on to Instagram and Facebook and I could see trees, right? So now we are privy to everybody's lives. I could see your accomplishments face to face. I get to know what you're doing. The problem with
okay,
that,
okay,
especially for millennials like me, is that we overpost. We know that. That's like a thing for millennials. We overpost, we share too much. The problem is most times on social media, people are always sharing the things that they're always sharing about their life. So it can become sometimes very distracting and distracting when somebody gives the appearance that their life is going really great,
yeah,
that
yeah,
everything is shiny and perfect, and they get this new job, they're vacationing wherever, because they announcing all their wins online. And that can sometimes be very distracting and sometimes very discouraging because now you measure yourself against that. So this is a scenario where people are deliberately being distracted in your life and you have to protect yourself. There's the flip side of people where they are not doing anything but living their life, but you become distracted because you're caught up from them and now you are measuring yourself against them. And so that becomes dangerous because now you're wondering, it's supposed to, should I even bother to try this because I am running the same lane with them and there's no way I could succeed. It's different thoughts that could go through your mind when you see what other people are doing, especially when you measure yourself against it. And so this is a very clear example in both arenas of mind your business. Right? On one end, which is the conversation you were just having, we have to know when to cut loose with people and to draw that boundary and draw that line. And then at the same time, we have to know when to guard ourselves against that passive consumption that is happening with people in our spaces where you're seeing all these things that
yeah,
you know you don't need to see. So for example, a practical way of doing that is limit the type of content that you view online from people. So if you know it's not something that you are mature enough yet to handle or something that's too personal, sometimes giving you a bit of a hard time, then come off social
Yeah, yeah,
media. Protect
yeah,
yourself from
yeah.
what you're seeing if you know it's not something that you could get digest.
All right. Let me just ask. Somebody told me that they were not hearing on my mic. Are you all hearing? Are you all hearing me clearly? Hi, Shirley. Good evening, Shirley. I'm a little late. Was flying down to Miami. Oh my, what a life you're living, Shirley. You got to fly down. We can't fly yet anyway. Yes. Let's just look at some comments. So Cleon says you're both breaking up and sounds almost like it's fast
That
forward.
was older. Shelly said you
Okay.
hear now.
All right. Hearing good now. All right. Good. All right. And Marlon says the deliberate studying of God's word and accepting His thoughts as your thoughts would bring this into order. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
By
Yeah.
spending time and being intentional and deliberate in God's word, His thoughts becomes your thoughts. So you make that a habit. And Shirley says, yes, I am hearing. Wonderful. Good. Good, good, good. So did I miss any? Okay, good. Nakisha said not here. All right. So I trust that is now fixed. Um, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
Kelly. So you can go ahead here now. I think we're less distracted. I changed the internet to something else. So on my
Okay,
phone,
good.
and that should be better.
Yeah, because the internet things have been distracted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So we would have just spoken about that whole thing of eliminating this people distractions. What do you do in a case study where now this could be a hard question, I'm sorry, where you can't necessarily remove somebody from your life, i.e., your husband could be a distraction, wife could be a
Uh,
distraction.
uh,
Just there are certain scenarios where you can't remove that people element and to help you focus. What then should you do in a scenario like that?
yeah. And of course, there are some people that you can't remove, but I think you could stop them from being a hindrance, especially if it's let us say it's a spouse or sibling who s- who speaks down at you
Mm-hmm.
or criticizes everything that you're going to that you try to do to move on. You may not always want to get in a battle with them, but you have to make an internal decision that this is not going to affect me.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And if it means that sometimes you're going to have to say, listen, this needs to stop. But the thing is, you don't stop. And I think sometimes if people are intentional in terms of trying to keep us back, and they see you pressing on, they have no choice but to back away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, so you're going to have to again focus and make a decision. I mean, so many times we've heard of stories where someone made a decision to follow the Lord, and they were the only person in the house, and the entire family were getting. And today they're still serving the Lord. So a
Right.
decision has to be made that I will not be held back. I will pursue, and I will persevere. And so that again comes from here,
Yeah.
from in terms of your mind. And again, you can come back to some self-talk, but not just
Mm-hmm.
self-talk, but some actions that may need to be taken that will help take you forward or take you into and away from that which is holding you. So that would be one of the ways, I think.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
agree. I think on another side to that, because there are two sides to that. Because sometimes it's not difficult. There's an added challenge of when you have this vision or idea you have for your life, but you are also living life at the same time. So meaning you still have a family that you're involved with, you still have work responsibilities and stuff like that. So sometimes the distraction from your family or from your working that is not deliberate. It's
Mhm.
not a mean thing, it's not something to come against you. However, it still presents a distraction. I think an important thing to do is to have very honest and open conversations with those people in your life. So I think one of the things that you have to start with is sharing your vision or sharing that thing on your heart with your spouse, siblings, whoever it is in your life that is in your space with friends. We have to share that vision because when you do that, now you are able to set some good little boundaries that can help. So for
Mhm.
example, if it is actually you're working towards something, you'll be able to sit down. I'll use my life in terms of obviously I could call Clean. Clean could come to me and say, all right, Colleen, this is what I work towards. So let's come to some kind of agreement, maybe half an hour for the day I'm setting aside this time to work on something for me, or so I think communication helps with that. If it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
of
we are
course,
able
of
to
course.
sit down and talk to people in our lives, because some people really are not that unreasonable. It's just most times they're not aware.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I agree.
So if they don't know what is going on with you, what is going on in your life, then it's unfair for you not to become straight and hold it against them. And so the flip side, where you're living in a space where um you're living in a space where this person is not being vindictive or anything, but a lot is going on. Share your vision with them, so you can now put things in place to help you to progress and get there. Shelly said something that was really important. She said, but you also have to be discerning on who to share your
That's
vision with.
that,
Amen.
that's correct. That's correct. There's a scripture we used to use where it says, "Don't throw pearl to swine."
Mhm.
In other words, don't take that which is precious and
Yeah,
put it into the hand of somebody who will not know what to do with it or even abuse it, so to speak.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
it's a,
yeah.
and that is important. That's why I think in one of our talks, we talk about your circle. That might
Right.
have been when Auntie Joanne came on. We talk about. So you have to know your circle, of course, but your circle
Mhm.
should not be those people that challenges your going on,
Right.
and that type of thing. So yeah.
I will say this though, you still have layers. I like to think of it as layers, because if you really think about what your life would look like and the people in it, it wouldn't just be one circle. It would be circles connecting with each other and connecting, right? So you have to know what could be said to what circle. Not every
Mhm.
circle is going to be privy to the same information, and it doesn't mean that you feel less about that circle. Everybody has their role in your life, everybody has their season in your life. And so you have to know the group of people who can handle your vision. You have to know the group
Mhm.
of people who are there for that to support. You have to know the people who just there to kind of align with because
Mhm.
you're doing it. So I do everybody should be privy to your
Mhm.
vision. There are
Mhm.
some things that sometimes I just tell it between Cleo and I now and sit on it because in that moment, and sometimes it's not because the person could shoot down your vision in a way that is purposeful. You see, what happens is when you share your vision with somebody, they interpret it from their perspective. And so their perspective is not always the right thing, even though their intention is right. Because it's not you have the right perspective on, right? So they could be well intentioned and still mess you up. So sometimes those closest to you, who you expect better from, might not be giving you the response. And that's why sometimes just write it down and keep it between you and the Lord. Let him start the work and ask him when is the time, if it's necessary, to share it with somebody. Because I think that plays a big part in why a lot of people have lost focus, because people throw them off because had the guts enough to tell them, well, I don't think that's right now. I really think that that's the right thing to do. So definitely agree with that.
I agree with that. In terms of who you talk to, there's another thing too, that when you have a vision, you are the one that has the passion to carry
Yeah.
that vision through. And sometimes you need to be very careful that you communicate passionately to some people and they're not as passionate as you are, and you become
Right.
discouraged. I always say, but you have to understand, the vision is yours.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you are the one. So you are the one. So even if people don't seem to get as excited as you are,
Hmm.
remember they may not have seen or see what you see in terms
Yes,
of a
yes, yes,
vision.
yes.
And so it's important that you continue, even if they may support you, but and you may feel that you're not getting the kind of energy, but you have to understand they may not see what you see, and they may not dream what
Hmm.
you are dreaming. You understand? Hi,
Hmm.
Lisa Cash. Good night. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was the whole eliminating distractions. I think another thing that causes us to veer off and to lose our focus is excuses. So this
Mhm.
one is shifting to introspection and self. So I'm gonna come for some of tonight. It really, and as a young people, if you don't know what that means, it's okay. Is the whole conversation of excuses. Sometimes one, the excuses other people, but
Yeah,
sometimes there
yeah.
are a lot of things going on internally with you that are hindering you from staying focused and minding your business. And so we want to break down that a little bit. What are very common with us that tends to hinder us from staying on track and keeping focused. And now when I say excuses, I don't just simply mean things like fear and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go a little deeper. What are some of the excuses that you've heard people make? Of course, now for some of the routine motions may be fair, but I mean, before we get to even that, what are some excuses you think people?
But there's simple ones. Or like I don't have time.
Right.
Very
Right.
simple. You're saying you have something to accomplish, but
Mhm.
an excuse might be I don't have time. I'm too busy. Those
Right.
are a very simple excuse. Or I am not qualified enough.
Mhm.
I don't have
Yeah.
all the skill at this time to get it done.
Mhm.
So I do
Mhm.
make a step. Those are some of your simple, everyday kind of excuses. And of course,
Right.
you could show the people in it. I don't think I have the kind of support I need to have to go
Right.
ahead and that type of stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, the time one is tricky because I mean, I think every adult has echoed the "I don't have time" sentiment.
yeah, yeah.
It's a real thing. However, I can't remember who I was listening to that said, while it is valid reason to say that you don't have time, the rebuttal to that is, well, how bad you want it? What are you
Yeah,
willing
yeah,
to sacrifice? What will it cost you to
yeah.
get this goal or dream done? And because it's true, if it is that you want to really bad for a season, then you may need to sacrifice in order to get it
Hmm.
done. For a season, you may have to give up something in order to get it done. And so the excuse of time, while is valid, the question to that really, the response to that really is, well, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad
Hmm.
enough that you might be willing for just a bit set aside an hour, 10 o'clock in the night or 11 o'clock in the night to get it done?
Hmm. Hmm.
Not just that, I also think we are very poor at managing our time. And so to add
Jesus.
to that, there are some things, one, that you are involved with, and I mean you, I mean all of us, that you have no business being involved with right now. We are a lot of yes people to certain things, so we say yes to everything. And then when you check your schedule, you realize you're just busy, but you're not focused. So you're doing a lot, but not getting a lot done. And
Done. Wow.
so with time, one of the first things you need to do is sift through your schedule, sift through the things that you're involved with, and ask yourself,
Hmm.
am I involved in something that even though they are honorable, it is not your business right now to be a part of? And that is a very hard
Hmm.
question to say, especially for us Christians who like to do it all. Is a rough one to sometimes answer. But it's true. Not everything, not everything is for you to get done in this season. But we have to be honest to know that. And we sometimes think that if we're not involved with everything that God punish us, but that's not true. Sometimes God could be like, but this is your assignment for this season. Why are you
The
not
season. Yeah, of
focused
course,
on
of
it?
course.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that concept of time really is where management is needed. Lisa is saying
Hmm.
agreed sacrifice must always be made in order to mind your business. Kelly, you came for me there.
Yes. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is serious.
that's
It
right.
really is serious. But and to add to that list, sacrifices must always be made in order to mind your business, but the right sacrifices.
Yeah,
The right sacrifices have to be made to get it done. So for me, I am currently in a season that people mightn't like in terms of how I respond. If it is that you ask me to do something and I check with God and say, "Nah, I know your business right now, I leave it alone." And sometimes it can seem harsh because somebody be like, yeah, but it's the work of the Lord. What make it? I cannot do the work of the Lord right now with what I do it. You understand? If it's one
yeah,
thing I'm very good at is batting in my lane. Real good at batting in
yeah.
my lane.
I am very particular about that too.
Yeah,
So within
and
recent time, yeah,
yeah. No, go ahead.
I've been asked to speak in things. And when the topic was given to me, I nicely bowed out and said, I can handle the topic, but it's not my lane. It's not what I'm called to talk
Yeah.
about. It's not what I'm called to teach about. And I just made recommendations for other people to do it. And that has to the whole business, and you can call that an alien sacrifice too, or prioritizing in terms of. So you have to know. So I think somebody I was talking to today, and I was talking about all this StreamYard stuff and all these kind of things. And you know what? These things can excite me because I like gadgets,
Yeah.
but I really prefer not to be doing it. That I have somebody who handles all these things and troubleshoot them. Because
Mm.
what I'm really called to do is for me to study, teach, mentor, and mold, and get people on track. You understand?
Right.
So in other words, I really shouldn't get too caught up with some things that I could have maybe somebody else who that's what they really call and passionate to do.
Right.
I remember when I was training, I think it was with digital in the corporate department. Whoever they brought in to train told us that. And an example they used was, why do you cut your grass? So I like that because that's my exercise. When you could pay somebody to do that, and that time could now be used, and that's just an
Right.
example, to do something that in those days we say something that is income earning.
Right.
So know what it is that you do that is fulfilling purpose,
Mm.
and you spend your majority of your time planning and training or doing that thing. And there are some other things that you may need to give others to do that
Yeah.
is their area of functioning. So it frees
Mm.
up your time, it frees
Yeah.
up your mind, and
Yeah.
helps you to focus in terms of it.
Yeah. While we're on the conversation of time, what just hit me as well with time is knowing when your time or your season has expired.
Of course, of course.
I think a lot of us sometimes are carrying around dead things
Yeah,
and
yeah. Wait.
hoping that it will wake back up because it's something that it was a season where we were really good with it. It was a season where this was something you were champion of, and so it made you feel good, you were comfortable in it. But the time and the season for it has gone,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's time to let go. And so we have to understand with that excuse of time, sometimes you are wasting your time on things that really have gone by. You're chasing a
Hmm.
ghost that really needs to be left alone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do some introspection and ask yourself, is it time for you to cut loose something that you've been gripping onto very tightly and you don't want to let go of because it is like a baby to you. It is a pet thing to you that you really love. But sometimes God is calling you to more, calling you to different, calling you to higher. I know about that. To be real comfortable in a space and not want to move on from it because you mastered it, right? You have mastered it. But seasons change for a reason. They change for a reason.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
ask yourself if your time has come or the time has come for this particular thing to be done and over with, and you know in your heart that you are being called to redirect your attention to something else. It's hard to let go of, but are you really supposed to be involved in that right now? Is it really, or is that you just can't let go because you built it? You
Well,
know?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And you hear of businessmen. There's a particular church, as a matter of fact, they just finished this wonderful building, and then in less than a year, you hear that the pastor's retired, and you would want to say, but you know what? I admired it because it means then that they understood their season. And although this new building just came into being, you could have wanted to say, let's stay and enjoy this, but God has said, hey, let's move on to
Right.
something else. So that's why
Right.
we have to know what we're holding on to and when the
Mm,
time has come for us to
right.
really move on in truth. Yeah? Good.
Yeah. So in that point of time, one, sacrifice is necessary. Sometimes you have to set aside the time and sacrifice in order to keep your focus and mind your business. Two,
Yes. Yeah.
there are certain things that we are involved with that you know you have no business being involved with. You are trying to do too much. Delegate responsibilities. responsibility if necessary. Learn to say no. And then 3, know if your season has ended for something, even though something that you love, even though
Yeah.
something you're comfortable with, has your season ended and it is time to move on. The last thing I want to add to that point of time is learn to be better at time management. I really am big on time management. It is not easy. I will be lying if I said it's a very easy thing to champion. But if it is that you say that you are going to dedicate this hour to writing, sit down and dedicate the time to that. Learn to put your life in little time buckets. You will realize how much empty spaces might exist that will give you more time to get things done. So sit down, write out what your day really looks like sometimes, include work, all the different things that you have to do, and then see where you can rearrange it and make them fit to be better. So one of the things that I realize is that when you don't put a time to activity, you'll stay on it a lot. Now, Cleon actually taught me this part, right? So what would happen is like if I have to do like a social media campaign for marketing, if I'm building something long time, I used to take hours to get it done. And Cleon would be like, yeah, but you're wasting a whole day getting it done. He was like, no, you have to be quicker than that. So if it is that you give yourself an hour and a half to get this done, you know you're on a crunch. You know
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
bounded
Yeah.
by this
Yeah.
time. So you get it done. But what it forced me to do was, like you say, to think quicker. And it freed me up to have more time to do it. It was very hard to learn. But he taught me how to kind of get it done. He was like, stop nitpicking at certain things, like just the things that he taught me. So sometimes you need to put some boundaries.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just sit down undistracted for the hour, switch your phone off, do whatever you need to do to make sure that the time is given this, and then move on to something else and free up your time a little more.
Okay. Good. Good.
Yeah,
All right. So Wade says put some people, but some people don't know how to let go when that time is up. That's
yeah,
true, Wade.
agreed, bro.
And Patricia says Wade, so true, and that's true. You understand? And you know, you mentioned becoming comfortable, and sometimes we're comfortable where we are, although where we're going to is going to be a better place. But because you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
it, because you can't say for sure what's going to be like there, you don't move. You understand?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the danger of the comfort zone. You may have just enough, but who wants to live in a place of just enough? Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
good.
I was listening to a message from Monroe last week on building a legacy, and he was just talking about he was specifically talking about church leadership. And he was talking about how some leaders will take pride in dying in the pulpit instead of handing it over. And he basically said it's an embarrassment to live your entire life and never at any point in time have to raise up the person who will take over from you. He was like, that's embarrassing. He was like, by the time you hit 40, you should already start mentoring the person who's going to succeed you. What he was really saying is
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have to even now get into the habit of we are not owners of everything, we are stewards. God gave it to us to
Stewards. Yeah,
steward
yeah,
over.
yeah.
And so when your season is for a
For
season,
season.
so know when it's time to pass it on to the right person, or when it's time for you to move on because you've done everything you needed to do in that moment and it's time to give it up. When he said that, I was like, I was like, that's a bit rough.
Yeah,
But I understood what he was saying after. When you really think about it, and now considering the fact that this man is dead, because he said he handed over his businesses to his son
yeah, yeah, yeah,
way before he died, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah,
understand
yeah.
it now. So you have to know when it's time to let go. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
so not letting go will prevent you from moving forward, and that can be even from the whole relationship stuff when we were dealing with unforgiveness. Also, you're gonna have
yes.
to know how to let go, otherwise an anchor remains on your feet, so to speak, and prevents you from. So you will live, but you wouldn't progress. You wouldn't be at your
Yes.
best. And then understand that some of and we mentioned this before, some of these things that happened in the past may very well have been intended to build you and make you stronger for where you're going. So that is
Mhm.
also very, very
I,
important. Yeah.
I was listening to something this morning from Darius Daniels, and he was like, not every loss that happens in your life is meant to be grieved. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, that is the truth. He was like, we always assume that all losses is because the devil takes something from me. He's like, no. He's like,
No.
sometimes it's God who takes something from you. And so you have to know in the season of loss, it hurts. But when the
Yeah.
time passes and you look back, you're like, oh,
Praise
that
God.
is why. Like,
And
thank you, sweet Jesus, that was cut off.
TD Jakes is one who says, he said, when people are leaving your life, he said, allow them to
Let
leave.
them.
Of course, he's
Let
not talking
them.
about spouse and those
No,
kind
no,
of
no.
relationships.
No, no,
But
no.
he said, there's some friends, their seasons for your life is over. And so what you
Yeah.
do, oh gosh, allow them to leave. You don't hate them. There's no fight and no war. But don't go grabbing to pull them back into your space. When God
Yeah.
might be bringing what somebody like to call destiny helpers for the next stage of your
Mm,
life, you know? And so
yeah.
they are no longer
Mm,
destiny helpers, and God is bringing destiny helpers. And that can be both ways. People for you to help fulfill the destiny while they're helping you
mm-hmm,
fulfill yours, you know?
mm-hmm.
It's a good
Yeah.
thing. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
so that was the excuse of time. The next excuse you mentioned is when people say that they are not equipped enough
yeah, yeah.
to mind the business that God has given them. This is a massive, massive, massive excuse
Mm-hmm.
that people use. And our response to that is I have two responses to that excuse of not being equipped. My first response to that is what do you have in your brain, even if it's one step closer to what God has called you to be? You see, the problem is that we always want it to be these big magical tools and tips and tricks that we need to be equipped with. When your personality is sometimes all you need to get a
Mm-hmm.
job done, or the fact that you've lived life, you've acquired skills, you've acquired talents in so many different arenas and areas of your life, and you have the guts to say that you're not equipped to handle this. It's an excuse. And so you have to ask yourself, what do you have in your hand right now that could actually be used to get done to mind your business? And that was something I had to learn. Sometimes we wait for perfection, and sometimes God is like, oh God, just move now, man. I need to just move with what you have, because then it will show
Mm-hmm.
you that you want it, you know? It will
Okay,
show
Lord. Yeah.
you, it will show you that you want it. So a good example that I have for me was I was telling the story on my business yesterday when we were talking about the same topic. I have a series that I do every Monday on business pages called Monday Musings, right? When I started that segment of my business 2 years ago, I didn't have a problem. I did not have a ring light. I had nothing. I literally used to take my old bang up phone and put it in the back of my fan, and I had to open the curtain. I could only record during the day to make sure sun coming. And sometimes I would be recording, and um and the phone will fall off the fan, you know. And so the thing was, it was challenging because you tell yourself, I'll wait, I'll wait until I get everything that I need to get it done. But I already had the idea, I already had the thoughts. I even had a list of topics I wanted to talk on. And so the instruments were minor. They really were minor
Mm-hmm.
in getting the message done. So if you go back and you watch my old content, they were poorly done in terms of the clipping, the recording, but the message was there. And so sometimes we pay attention to things that don't matter and focus on those excuses that really are irrelevant. Of course, as the time went by, I upgrade to a proper phone, upgrade to a ring light and stuff like that. But the same message that I was equipped with from the start still is there in me. It's just the tools upgrade. So the tools that you think that you need is not really what God is looking for from you. It is
Mm-hmm.
what is already in you that is already there. Your personality, that quirky smile that you have, that voice that you have, it is already there. So stop making the excuse that you need this equipment, you need this. Work on getting it done, of course, because
Yeah,
I
of
know you're
course.
going to have a fan anymore. But
But
in the
start.
meantime, in the interim, you just need to start, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I remember when we were surprised by COVID. Now, as a church, we were already streaming. So streaming to Facebook wasn't an issue. But then we came to the place where now we had to stream from home. So I
Right.
had to make up. You had to make up lights, get a little piece of thing, and hang up all over the place, and not too sure. And of course, there were some people saying this is not looking good, Pastor. And I kept saying the message has to go forth. Now I have
Yeah.
official lights. You understand? And we're still building. There's still something. Just trying this platform is attempting to be better at it. But the thing is, not for one Sunday during the pandemic did we not stream. You understand?
Mhm.
And so you have to make a step. You have to do. Somebody says something that doesn't sound good, but do it bad until it get good.
No,
And
yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
bad didn't mean being deliberate in terms of not giving a good quality, but
Yeah.
giving what you have and with what you have. Uh, you always hear the story of long time where people came to church and sat on hard benches, and some of them
Yeah.
are fans and buckets, and some of
Yeah.
those same places now are big cathedrals. You understand? So
Yeah.
if the visionary had said, you know what, let's wait until we could build something for 5,000 people, then it would have never gotten done. And so
Right.
sometimes you have to start with what you have and where you are. Is it Alvin Slaughter who sang that song? What's that? I wouldn't bother to sing, okay, but what's that you have in
Those.
your hand?
Yeah.
Can I use it? As if God is saying,
Mhm.
can I use it? Every one of us have been given a talent, a gift, or
Mhm.
something that can be used to make our mark in one way or the other. And so we have to begin. We have to step out. We cannot allow the hurts of the past, the mistakes of the past, to keep us anchored and not moving forward. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Good.
That was actually my next
Okay.
that was actually my next point in terms of your past. And Lisa said it perfectly. I listen.
Yeah.
Lisa, that's the scriptures that I have, or I keep very dear to me, especially when my business is concerned. Do not small beginnings, mind the little that you have now and mind it well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
God will elevate it in due time as long as He see that you are willing to put in the work. Now we ask a question that is very important, and is a answer that is very big here in the daughter, right? Which
Yeah.
is, can fair be a factor of not moving forward, bro? I actually
Of
think is
course.
one of the biggest factors
Factor. Yeah.
of why people don't move forward. And we would have tackled it before, but of course,
Yeah. Yeah.
repetition is really important. You see, and it's not just fair. Wait, I think a lot of people don't see how fair is disguised in their lives, and that is why they are unable to pinpoint that it is that. Because the thing I've learned about fair is very tricky. It could hide
Yeah.
itself
Yeah.
in ways. So, for example, sometimes fear hides itself in the form of
Hmm.
procrastination. You procrastinate, but you never ask yourself why. And it could be because you're
Yeah.
afraid that if you take this step, that you fail. You understand? There's the fear of so much things: fear of rejection, fear of failure. There's the fear of success. There's the fear of other people's view of you. There's so many different fears that play. That's why we make the excuses. That's where the excuses come, because you are afraid
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
putting yourself
Yeah.
out there. You're afraid of becoming more. And somebody might say, but Kelly, nobody's afraid of becoming more. That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because becoming more holds you at a higher responsibility, right? So I do think
Yeah.
that fear is a massive factor. It's just people have to have their eyes wide open to pinpoint and know that it is actually fear that
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
facing
Yeah.
with. Procrastination is a real big one. It really is. That's what we said. It is a big one where how
Yeah.
fear
Yeah.
hides itself. It really is. Fear hides itself in pride. Fear sometimes hides itself in caution. I just
Yeah.
watching to
Yeah.
see how it go pow. You're lying. You're scared. Just admit
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know?
And please understand, and you might have said it, that procrastination is also fear, a kind of fear.
Yeah.
You understand? So so that it's important
Yeah.
to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Kate, baby. Yes, let me hear
Um,
what some people are
right. So we
saying.
talked about
Yeah, yeah. So with this, procrastination is a big one. Yeah, you understand? So
yeah.
good.
So we talked about excuses in terms of time. We talked about excuses in terms of not being equipped. Then there's excuse of I am not ready.
Oh
No,
Lord.
I am not ready. No, there are two sides to this. There's the sincere case where you're not ready for something and you have to know that. We're not talking about that person that really isn't there able to handle what is going on. We're not talking about those. We're talking about the real scenario where you make the excuse of not being ready. And you
Mhm.
have the different reasons why you're not ready.
Mm.
Now, I like to call that in my head the difference with delay versus waiting. That's how I differentiate the two. When you say I am not ready, I'm going to ask you to differentiate between the two. Is it then that you are not ready because the opportunity has not presented itself? Is that
Yeah,
why you're not ready?
yeah, yeah,
So then, if that's the case, it's not a matter of being ready, or are you delaying? Meaning the opportunity is right in front of you.
yeah,
Everything
yeah,
has been laid out nicely for you, but you are not moving forward, and you're avoiding it. There's a difference. And so I am not ready is not a good excuse if it is a matter that everything is laid out properly for you, because then of course it
yeah,
goes back to
yeah,
so saying I am not ready for an illegitimate reason is not the same.
yeah,
Somebody, and don't tell me it's because you're waiting on something. Waiting means that while this opportunity is waiting to manifest, you are doing everything in your power to get ready.
that's right, that's right,
So
that's right.
you're minding your business in terms of your you're spending time listening to what God has saying to you. You're prepping in every way. That's what I like to call it. So you have to, if you're going to use the excuse of I am ready, yourself, am I really waiting or am I delaying?
Hmm,
Which
hmm,
is it?
hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And so those are very good
Yeah.
questions. And again, you talk about the evaluation side of things, and those are questions to ask. Am I delaying or am I waiting? And of course, we heard Kelly talk
Mm-hmm.
about some of the things you could be doing while you say that you are waiting. And I'm being very deliberate to say while you say that you are waiting, because it can be another
Right.
excuse that is being made, you know. And as you evaluate, then you make the steps that are necessary in order to progress and to move on. Emily said, "Well said," because these
Yeah.
things are so true. Lisa Cat said, "Wait, wait like a bride who's getting ready to get out of the car on her wedding day, dressed and anticipated."
I like that. Dress with anticipation.
Excuse. Dressed with
I like that.
anticipation. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're waiting.
Yeah, I like that.
Least
Yeah.
like the anniversary coming close, girl. I find you bringing up them wedding thing there. Yeah, that. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So listen,
The
we
last.
have.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. You go ahead. You go right ahead.
No, you. Oh, now to answer the last excuse that I wanted to tackle before we wrap up was the excuse that I've made too many mistakes and I'm no longer qualified to move forward or to mind my business like this. Um,
Hmm.
to me, that's a really sad one of the excuses where you allow your past to disqualify you. Nobody else is qualifying you, but you take it upon yourself to think about the things that you've gone through, the attempts you have made, and then you decided
Yeah.
that based on my past, I am no longer qualified or I am not allowed to mind my
Hmm.
business in this way, to have a new chance or a new opportunity at something. And my response to that is, in Christ we are new creations. You are are not allowed to hold your past
Yeah,
against
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
in
That's right.
any form or fashion. You are not allowed to hold your inefficiencies against yourself,
That's correct.
um, because that is not the way in which God views us. I was studying the story of some brothers in the Bible who really had a problem.
Hmm.
So I was looking at Jeremiah, and Jeremiah was called to be a prophet. When you read Jeremiah, God says, Jeremiah, I'm calling you to be a prophet to nations or whatever. And what was Jeremiah's first response? He said, Lord, I am too young to do this. Jeremiah responded to God from a place of insecurity, from a place of examining his life and thinking that he fell short. And to me, I find that was really sad that God tell you that you're going to be a prophet to nations and you respond from a place of insecurity. But he's the only one. When God told Moses that he will deliver his people, Moses said, well, I have a speech problem. I need you to send somebody to help me. And so, how many of us respond from a place
Yeah,
of insecurity or the
yeah.
past? What would have happened if David responded from a place of his past or insecurity? Lord, I am an adulterer and I'm a murderer. I don't deserve to be this anymore. You understand? Like when you really think about it, and Abraham, oh, he's a problem all by himself, even with Sarah. All of these people, if Rahab was a
But
prostitute,
you had
guys. She
Gideon also.
was Gideon. God said, Gideon, you're
Yeah,
gonna do so. He said, Lord, I'm the least of thee. I am the least. And God was like, yeah, but I say I'm a man of valor though. So what are you talking about? So we tend to respond from a place of insecurity. Pastor God is like, yes, but I respond to you from the place at which I created you.
of
So
course.
and I love how God usually rebuttals with these people. That I also um I'll come back to that question and we'll ask. Yeah, I love how God. I like to think that God is sassy because if I sassy, God has to be sassy too. So when Jeremiah said to God that I am too young, God's response was, "Do not say you're too young." He
That's
literally
right.
said
That's
that. God
right.
said, "Do
That's
not
right.
say you're too young. I will tell you the ways that you have to speak, and I will tell you which way you have to go." So I'm uninterested in what you say. Insecurity is this is what we're going to do. And when you read through Moses and you start with all of them, God literally responded like He's like, "Hey, this is not in your own strength. This is not about your past. This is not about anything that you have to do. This is about what I am going to do with you." So
That's right. That's right.
your past is not allowed to dictate your pace. You cannot judge your old self, your younger self, for mistakes that you make in any form or fashion. You are not that person anymore. You can't like you can imagine if Rahab daddy had decided to say, you know, well, I was at home, so we can't do this. We can't do this. Rahab's name was mentioned in the genealogy of
Yeah,
Jesus
of course,
Christ.
of course,
You
of
understand,
course, of course.
you understand how
She
big
had
of a deal that is?
she had reasons to say so. Yeah, but
Exactly.
there's another angle to it. So in Jeremiah's case, Jeremiah said, "I'm too young." But Paul, in talking to Timothy, says, "Let no man despise your youth." So you have the case where you could say you're too young,
As your
but you
youth.
also have the case where somebody else could say to you that you're too young to try what you're trying. You don't have the experience for it. But God's word through Paul to Timothy was,
Right.
"Let no man
Right.
despise
And I've
your
been
youth."
told that. Mm-hmm.
So there are two sides of it. One, you can look at yourself and say that you're too young or whatever it is, you're too old. You understand? But we saw
Mm-hmm.
where in the book of Timothy,
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Let no man despise your youth." So you could despise yourself from moving on,
Yeah.
or somebody could despise you from moving on. You could say, "I'm too old. I'm 65 now."
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And things like that. But
Yeah.
we got to move on. Yeah. So good
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last thing, we asked an interesting question. He asked, can you miss your whole season or do some seasons come back around?
I think you could miss your timing for a season, but I think if you catch yourself and based on what we are talking about, because these are not natural seasons, I think you can catch up. I heard a pastor preach a message
Okay.
many years ago. I think it might have been Apostle Vivian Duncan, where he says that even if you miss God's timing for you, if you get it right in terms of your whole walk with God, God can put you right back center in terms of so that you could now still move
Mm.
on. So I think if you catch yourself and you,
Right.
you you walk in repentance, and we know
Mm.
what repentance means, the changing of your mind, I think you can recover your
Uh-huh.
season again. The idea is not to despair and think that all has been lost.
Mm.
You understand? Now I also admit
Mm-hmm.
that there are some things that God has called us to do. There's a season to get it done, and if you don't get it done, He'll
Yes.
bring somebody else to get it done. I remember saying that some years
Yes.
ago. I said, there are some things that I am doing, I know I'm called to, but I also know that God is fast tracking it because there are those who didn't take it up. So it's not that I wasn't called to it,
Mm.
but I feel as
Okay.
if God fast tracks some growth because there are those who weren't willing to step into the place. So God will always get what He wants done.
Mm.
So where I think you can recapture your season
Agreed.
and that type of stuff once the
Mm.
mindset has changed and you're no longer at the place of doing the same things that you did that caused you to miss that
Mm.
season and that timing. Yeah. So remember the Bible says
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
Bible refers to God as one who redeems the time.
Mm.
You understand? So God can redeem your time that was lost
Yeah.
or that was even given up.
Yeah.
Because once you come to Him
Mm-hmm.
with a good heart, God is a God of restorer. And not just a God of the second
Mm.
chance, but a God of many chances. How many
Yeah.
times, my God, how many times did Israel fail and run back to God, and God
Listen.
gave them a chance again? And they went a
Sure.
whoring again after other gods, and then God will give them. And so this is the God that we serve. Now don't be deliberate and saying, I'm going to do it
Of
because
course.
I know God will, you understand? But that's the
Mm.
God that we serve. And all of us,
Mm.
he's open to all of us. I think I saw a good friend of mine earlier on, Dayton Lord. Hi, Dayton. Good to have seen you.
Yeah. Who's talking to
And
you?
Deborah Jeffrey says, be still and know that
Mm.
I am God. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So understand that to reiterate that point of fear, of your past. I feel the heaviness of that. Sometimes you really, too many people really allow their past to smother them. Yes,
Yes, yes.
season. You know, one thing I learned about seasons, Zaddy, as I'm thinking about it. Sometimes we do miss seasons for whatever the reason is, and we mourn a season that we thought was for us. Even if that season doesn't come back, and Daddy, God is a restorer of all things, and He restores even better. So
Yeah, of course.
sometimes you miss an opportunity and you mourn the loss of it, but understand that God always brings better back into your space as
Of
long as
course,
you
of
submit
course, of
yourself
course.
to it. So when you
That's right.
serve the God that we serve, don't mourn a season missed because you think that you'll never get the opportunity again. It may not show up like that, but God will open an even bigger, better door as long as your life is in alignment with His will and stuff like that. So too many of us mourn our old self or what we could have been. Now we mourn that we think, ugh, I really could have been this, I really could have been that, I really could have been all of that. Yeah, but who does God need to be now in this moment, in this season?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
your past really has no merit in that regard because it was then, this is now. So yes, you may have missed out on a chance then, whatever that chance could have been. But in this present moment, God is able to do more and even bigger and restore even better
Of
than
course,
you would have
of
lost.
course,
And
of
so we
course.
have to see that. I think sometimes we think that God holds us ransom and sits in this, well, you miss it so hard, love. That's not the God that we
Yeah.
serve. It
No, no, no,
it
no.
really, so, and we see God as a punisher. And that's really the image that the world has portrayed us. So that God just kind of up there and they said he punished you and whatever. And so he big and bad. So if you miss it, you miss it. That
Well,
really is not the God that we serve.
and it's not just the world, it's a particular denomination, I don't call no name, that created the idea that whenever you sin or you fall, you bounce your toe. That's God punishing you.
Oh yeah, I don't know that who that is, but
Yeah.
I heard a preacher say one. I heard somebody,
Mhm.
I think it was a preacher that said, God doesn't punish us for our sin, you know. Sin has its own consequence. Understand
Of
that.
course, of course.
Sin has its own
And remember
consequence.
And remember, the price has already been paid. The punishment has already been dished out. The sentence has already paid by Jesus. But there are consequences if you do not come to a place of repentance. So we are rounding up, so to speak.
Yes.
Remember, you can follow us on the daddy daughter chat on our Facebook page. You can follow us. So many of you have already followed us. You can also follow up and listen to it again. Point people to the page, or you can even continue the chat or the conversation on the page. We would look at it and give responses. You can direct others to the page. Remember, please share this conversation that we're having, so that somebody who can come on later on would benefit from it. So it's so
Yeah.
good. And also, maybe somebody who would like to watch and they do not have a Facebook account. Some people don't want to have a Facebook account. From now on, you can also view us on YouTube on the House of Glory Open Bible. On YouTube, you can also view us live on House of Glory Open Bible. Today was our first pilot on YouTube, and I'm happy to say maybe just Dawn came on to make sure it was working, but we will spread the word around that you can also view us on YouTube also. Yeah, and so
So
so that is good.
as we go,
Go ahead.
guys, just in terms of the conversation, we love having conversations with you guys on Daddy Daughter. So we need your help for all of our faithfuls. We have a lot of faithfuls now, so like Deborah and Emily and Soy, and of course, Shelly is
Shirley,
a day one. All of you guys,
number one
of course,
fan,
we've
yes,
been doing this for over, yeah, we've
Amanda.
been doing this for over a year. Yeah, we have a lot. Um, and we've been doing this over a year, so that means we have close to almost 60 episodes that we would have done. Um, what we would like, however, is of course with 60 plus episodes, we need to have more topics that you guys would be interested in. So it would be greatly appreciated that you want to send it via the page. You could message Daddy or you could message myself and just tell us your ideas, because based on the way y'all talk to us, clearly you'll have a lot of thoughts going through your mind on particular topics. So we would greatly appreciate if it is that you have a topic you think that we can tackle and it is not limited. We've talked about just anything on this platform. We've talked about forgiveness. We talk about family dynamics. We've even talked about sex on this platform. We talked about it all. Don't ask me questions about sex with my daddy on this platform again, please ask. But the point of it is, whatever the topic is, and you think it is important for us to tackle on the Daddy Daughter chat, please feel free for us to invite you to the show. Feel free to send us those topics so that we could dive into it. It will be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, yes, yes. Very good. So we've had another very interesting evening of conversation, even as we try out this new platform. Some little challenges, but I know that we will be able
Yeah.
to steer through some of the teaching issues as we get to understand the platform. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and remember, mind your own business. Mind your own business, or your parents say, mind your own business, because nobody would mind it for you. Hallelujah.
Minded for you.
God bless you. Have an awesome weekend. Well, I say the weekend when today's only Tuesday, but have a great week. Yes, remember, be safe.
Yes.
Stay safe. Stay sanitized. Keep on your face mask. Well, never to say very soon, but it's coming to an end. We trust God that it's coming to an end. We're seeing some things that are opening up.
Amen.
Still continue to be safe. Yes. So God bless
Thank you,
you.
Jesus. I fed up cook.
What's that? Sorry. What's that?
Oh God, I fed up cook. Oh God, I cook. I can't
You're fed up cook.
to get some
But
food. I fed up.
you living in the bush. You have to cook. You have to keep cooking.
I don't.
You can't drive on the road or just buy stuff. You understand? So
No
God
people
bless you all.
delivering to us now, so already.
Oh, wow. That must be a hefty fee for delivery dog in the bush there, boy. Wow. So God bless you all. Kelly, you can stay on a minute. Yeah. And you all have
Okay.
an awesome night. Get a good rest and have a great day tomorrow. Be safe. God bless you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night, everybody.